Rin Callahan preferred the quiet hum of machinery to the noise of people. On the Coalition research vessel Vitharian, she found exactly the kind of life she'd once thought impossible. Predictable, contained, forgettable. She spent her days repairing alien systems whose operation manuals were three-dimensional and whose warnings were sung in tones half the crew couldn't hear. She didn't mind. The machines didn't ask questions. Humans were still a novelty this far out in Coalition space, known more for their intensity than their subtlety. So the crew treated Rin with polite caution, the same way they treated volatile test equipment. Useful, but best left undisturbed. She encouraged that distance. She kept her voice soft, her posture small, her presence minimal. When others debated theory, she stayed busy with tools. When they celebrated breakthroughs, she let the crowd swallow her until she blended into the background. She was everyone's favorite type of co-worker, competent and forgettable. Diagnostics Bay 7 was her sanctuary. It was a cavernous chamber of suspended crystalline processors, flickering dimensional conduits, and delicate gravitational spindles that hummed like wet glass. Most technicians disliked the bay's shifting geometry. Rin found it soothing. Everything here obeyed rules. Complex, alien rules, yes, but rules nonetheless. Machines broke in predictable ways. People didn't. The commander once joked that Rin was the calmest human he had ever met. She only smiled. If he knew where that calm truly came from, what she had survived, what she had done, he wouldn't have said it so lightly. Because Rin wasn't just a technician, and she wasn't only a former soldier. She was Earthborn, and Earthborn didn't get to live quiet lives. But she was trying, desperately. And all of it began to unravel because of three quiet words she never should have spoken. Rin worked alone in Diagnostics Bay 7, surrounded by soft glows and drifting holographic schematics. It was late cycle, the hour when most of the crew slept and the ship itself seemed to exhale, settling into a gentle rhythm. Perfect. She preferred the quiet, preferred not being seen. Tonight's task was delicate. Recalibrating a gravimetric manifold grown from resonant crystal and semi-fluid metal. Every adjustment changed the whole device like tuning a living instrument. Rin steadied her breath, guiding the manifold into balance with careful rotations of her wrist. But one of the crystalline lobes clicked out of alignment, releasing a sharp, ringing harmonic. Instinct kicked in before thought did. Rin leaned in, pressed her thumb against the manifold's core seam, and whispered, "Delta 7, hold form." It was barely louder than a breath, but the phrase itself wasn't what mattered. It was the resonance. Three tones layered into one. One of them human, two of them not. The harmonics weren't spoken. They were embedded, the result of Earthborn training that rewired reflexes and encoded commands deep into the nervous system. You didn't think about them. You used them the way most people used muscle memory. And it worked. The manifold stabilized immediately. But Rin froze anyway, because she never used Earthborn code out loud. Not since she'd left. Not since she'd sworn to disappear. A soft rustle echoed from behind her. She turned. Vorrn, you, a crystalline Thalrian scientist whose body refracted light like carved ice, stood motionless in the doorway. His species didn't blink, which made his stare even more unnerving. "I require clarification," he said slowly, each word ringing like chimes. "Your voice produced an Earthborn harmonic signature." Rin's pulse spiked. Her fingers tightened around the manifold. He couldn't have heard that. He shouldn't have recognized it. "Can you repeat what you just said?" Vorrn, you asked. Rin swallowed. "Quiet life. Cracking. Cover. Fraying." Her next words came out far too quickly. "I didn't say anything." Vorrn, you tilted his crystalline head, light scattering across the bay. "That," he said, "is precisely what concerns me." Vorrn, you stepped further into the bay, each movement sending faint prismatic ripples across the floor. Thalrians were silent walkers, built of articulated crystal plates and flexible mineral tendons. Rin had worked beside him for months without ever hearing him approach. Normally she liked that about him. Not tonight. He studied her with the careful, meticulous attention of someone analyzing a hazardous specimen. Your vocal emission carried a tritone imprint, he said. A very specific one. Earthborn directive frequencies are not widely known, not even among humans. Rin forced herself to breathe evenly. I think your instruments are miscalibrated. I was not using instruments. That made her stomach drop. Vorrn lifted one translucent hand and tapped the faceted side of his head. My auditory lattice can isolate harmonic signatures down to the 8th fractional tone. Is an advantage of my biology. Rin inwardly cursed every instructor who had drilled those imprints so deeply into her reflexes that even now, years out, they surfaced when she wasn't thinking. Earthborn training wasn't something you left behind. Not really. It left marks in the voice, in the posture, in the instincts you carried every time a machine sparked wrong or a corridor sounded too quiet. She needed to redirect him. Quickly. What's the problem? She asked, keeping her voice as neutral as possible. It was just a phrase. Vorrn's chest lattice dimmed, a Thaurian sign of discomfort. Earthborn operatives are alarming. Your people's governments deny they exist. Coalition records contain only rumors. The Vorrn is a research vessel, not a warship. If you are Earthborn, the captain must be notified. Rin stepped back, pulse hammering. I'm not a threat. That is not the issue. Vorrn's tune tightened. Earthborn are unpredictable. They are engineered for clandestine conflict. And you have been hiding among us. I'm not hiding. A lie. One he recognized instantly. Vorrn's crystal plates shifted, refracting the bay's light into sharp angles. Rin Callahan, he said, voice low and resonant. What exactly are you? The worst part wasn't the question. It was the fear behind it, quiet, cautious, and entirely justified. Rin had spent years running from her past. But in this moment, with Vorrn watching her as though she might tear open the hull with her bare hands, she realized something. The past had finally found her. Rin's mind raced through every contingency she'd rehearsed since leaving Earthborn Command. Evade, redirect, mislead. None of them worked when the witness was a Thaurian with crystalline sensory arrays capable of recording her every microexpression. Vorrn wasn't guessing. He knew something was wrong, and Rin couldn't allow him, or anyone, to dig deeper. She raised her hands slowly, not in surrender, but in an attempt to look harmless. Vorrn, listen. I'm not what you think. I had military training, yes, but not this kind, he cut in sharply. Thaurians rarely interrupted. It was an act bordering on aggression. Your resonance profile is classified at the highest coalition security tier. Earthborn protocols interact directly with quantum perception channels. They are not something one simply picked up during training. His chest glow flickered, the Thaurian equivalent of a tightening jaw. You have been masking your capabilities, not merely concealing, suppressing. Rin felt exposed, stripped bare in a way she hadn't been since the day she walked out of the Earthborn program. She reminded herself to keep breathing. I left that life behind. I'm just a technician now. Vorrn approached, each step measured. Then why do your eyes track every pressure seam in this room? Why did you identify the manifold's harmonic failure before it occurred? Why do you stand with your weight balanced for evasive movement even while speaking calmly? Rin froze. She hadn't realized she was doing any of that. Earthborn conditioning wasn't something you unlearned. It lived beneath the skin, rewiring reflexes until the body responded to threats before the mind acknowledged them. I'm not here to hurt anyone, she said quietly. That, Vorrn replied, is precisely why I am concerned. Rin blinked. Concern. Earthborn assets only choose isolation when they believe danger will follow them. You're not hiding from us. Vorrn's voice softened, but the undertone remained unshakably analytical. You are hiding to protect us. That hit harder than any accusation. Before Rin could respond, the ship shuddered. Once, violently. Enough to rattle even Vorrn's crystalline frame. Warning glyphs ignited across the bay walls, pulsing in urgent red frequencies. An automated announcement thundered through the corridors. Gravitic anomaly detected at system edge. Unknown construct activating. All senior personnel report immediately. Vorrn turned to her, the lights refracting strangely across his body. Rin Callahan, he said, voice low, tell me now, is this anomaly related to your past? Rin didn't answer, because she already knew the truth. She felt it in her bones, like an echo from another life. The Earthborn had built something out there, and it had just awakened. The Vitharian's corridors pulsed with red emergency light as Rin and Vorrn moved toward the command deck. Crew members spilled from their quarters, drowsy researchers, startled technicians, startled bioengineers clutching data tablets like shields. Everyone murmured the same questions. What kind of anomaly? How big? Is it natural? Rin didn't ask. She already recognized the pattern of the alarm tones. Gravitic irregularity, non-random, artificially pulsed. Whoever programmed the alert system had no idea what they were detecting. But she did. An Earthborn construct wasn't a weapon or a ship. It was a contingency. A dead man's switch built from overlapping gravitational fields, quantum anchors, and self-targeting logic. They were never meant to be used, only prepared. Vorrn walked beside her, his crystalline body glinting under emergency lights. Your posture changed the moment the alarm sounded, he said quietly, as if you were returning to form. Rin didn't deny it. Pretending would be useless now. They reached the command deck just as the captain, a broad-shouldered Volnari with carapace plates like polished obsidian, slammed a hand onto the central projection dais. A star map flickered to life, focusing on the outer fringe of the system. A structure glowed at the edge of the displayed gravity well, a shifting, contorted lattice of curving lines, updating its shape every second as the sensors struggled to map it. The captain growled. Can someone explain why it looks like the anomaly is moving? It's not moving, Rin said before she could stop herself. It's stabilizing. Half the command deck turned toward her. The room seemed to tilt under the weight of attention. The captain narrowed his many eyes. Technician Rin, you have information you have not disclosed. Vorrn stepped forward. She recognized Earthborn harmonic code. There is more she must tell you. Rin felt her chest tighten. There was no way to avoid this anymore. The anomaly pulsed again on the display, this time in a perfect harmonic sequence that made Rin's skin crawl. It was calling out, initializing. No one else seemed to understand the danger, but she did. She had trained for this. She had built systems like this. It's a singularity seed, she said softly. A dormant Earthborn construct designed to activate only under specific conditions. And what conditions would those be? The captain asked. Rin exhaled. When something decides humanity isn't finished fighting. A heavy silence fell across the deck. The captain's voice lowered to a dangerous calm. And why? He asked. Is it activating now? Rin swallowed hard, because she had triggered it. Not intentionally, not directly, but Earthborn systems were linked across deep space networks only the program understood. Her vocal imprint, detected by a Thaurian sensor array, logged by the ship's systems, it was enough. Enough to ping an old Earthborn failsafe buried at the system's edge. It woke up, she whispered, because it thinks I died. The room went utterly still. The captain's carapace plates flared in alarm. Explain that, he demanded. Now. Rin steadied herself on the projection console. The anomaly pulsed again, slow, deliberate, like a heartbeat felt through walls. Earthborn operatives are tagged with a quantum identification imprint, she said. It's woven into our neural lattice during initiation. If an operative dies in deep space, the imprint collapses. That collapse sends a signal across the network. And that triggers this? The captain asked, gesturing to the shifting construct on the display. It triggers a failsafe. Rin's voice was tightening, because every word felt like a confession. Not an attack. Not exactly. It's meant to erase sensitive material, destroy evidence, eliminate compromised tech. But some prototypes were larger. Vorrn's crystalline core dimmed with unease. How large? Rin didn't answer immediately. Instead, she expanded the projection field, forcing the sensors to calculate mass distortion rather than relying on visuals. The image resolved, and several officers swore in their native tongues. The construct wasn't a small device floating harmlessly at system edge. It was a multi-layered gravitational shell spanning nearly 200 kilometers. A scaffold of bending space-time wrapped around a hollow core, flexing with each pulse. A self-stabilizing annihilation engine. Rin swallowed. I wasn't assigned to this sector during my service, but I know the architecture. It's a Mark IV singularity shell. The captain's voice cracked. Those don't exist. They weren't supposed to, Rin said. They were theoretical, dangerous to handle, too unpredictable for deployment. Yet there it is. Vorrn murmured, eyes refracting the display. And it's activating. The lights flickered, once, twice, then steadied. The ship's artificial gravity hiccuped, a tiny but unmistakable ripple. Rin gripped the console. It's syncing with the nearest coalition vessel. You mean us? The captain growled. Yes, Rin whispered. It's looking for instructions. It believes the operative associated with this sector has died. And what will it do? Vorrn asked softly. If it receives no instruction? Rin forced herself to say it. It will collapse the shell inward and erase a sphere of space approximately 1 astronomical unit in radius. One of the officers choked. That would wipe out the entire system. Rin nodded once. And any vessel inside it. The captain stared at her. Then we need to shut it down. You can do that, can't you? Rin hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. Earthborn constructs don't accept commands from outsiders, she said, and I'm flagged as deceased. She looked at the blooming, impossible construct on the map. Alive, aware, waiting. There is only one way to stop it, she whispered. The captain leaned in. Tell us. Rin's voice became a razor-edged truth. I have to go inside the shell and prove I'm alive. The command deck erupted in overlapping voices, protests, questions, arguments. But Rin barely heard them. Her attention was fixed on the anomaly's pulsing signature. Each harmonic was sharper than the last, like a countdown accelerating one fraction at a time. If it reached full cycling speed, nothing in the system would survive. The captain slammed both hands on the railing. The deck fell silent. Technician Rin Callahan, he said, explain what going inside entails. Rin stepped closer to the projection. The singularity shell is layered, she said, tracing a path through the glowing lattice. 3 outer rings, each one reinforcing the next, all spinning at slightly mismatched frequencies. That mismatch is what creates the annihilation field. But the inner core, she pointed to the hollow center, is a null pocket, a stable zone, the system's brain. Vorrn's crystalline plates clicked in realization. It requires authentication from within. Rin nodded. Remote commands won't work. Nothing transmits cleanly through the shell. Only an Earthborn imprint can interface with the core. And you can't provide that imprint from here, the captain said. I can't provide it at all, Rin answered. Not as long as I'm registered as dead. Vorrn tilted his head. You said the imprint collapses upon an operative's death. Yet you are alive. Yes, but I sever my link to the Earthborn network when I retired. The word retired tasted wrong, even now. My imprint hasn't been active for years. The system only just detected my supposed death because your auditory lattice flagged my command phrase and the ship logged it under dormant Earthborn identifiers. That triggered an automated update. The captain's eyes widened. So this is our fault? No, Rin said softly. It's mine. I used training I shouldn't have. And now the construct thinks its operative is gone. And if you enter the core? Vorrn asked. Rin hesitated. I can restart my imprint manually. It's painful, risky. But if I succeed, the system will recognize me as the operative assigned to this sector and shut down. And if you fail? The captain asked. Rin didn't sugarcoat it. If I fail, the shell will interpret my presence as confirmation of operative death. It will collapse instantly. A heavy silence weighed on the deck. Vorrn stepped closer, his crystalline voice calm but intense. Then you cannot go alone. A team. No. Rin cut him off. Anyone else entering the shell will die. The field won't know what to do with non-Earthborn signatures. You'd be shredded before you reach the core. The captain exhaled sharply. Then how do we get you inside? Rin zoomed the map out, highlighting a narrow, wavering corridor of lower gravitic distortion. There's a phase window here, a path through the harmonics. It won't stay stable long, but if a shuttle lines up perfectly, it can slip through before the rings realign. The captain stared at the projection, then at Rin. You're saying we need to fly straight into a singularity? Yes, and you're saying you're the only one who can do it. Rin met his gaze. I'm saying I'm the only one who should. Vorrn stepped forward, crystalline limbs trembling with refracted light. If she attempts this alone, she will die. Rin didn't deny it. She looked at the expanding anomaly, its pulses speeding up, its harmonics climbing. I left the Earthborn program to stop being the weapon they made me, she whispered. But if I don't do this, that weapon will fire. She turned away from the projection and walked toward the shuttle bay with steady, determined steps. Her quiet life was over. The universe had just reminded her why it never truly belonged to her. The shuttle bay thrummed with emergency energy fields as Rin entered, moving with purpose she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Technicians scrambled around half-prepared vessels, shouting over status reports and gravitic fluctuations. None of them noticed her at first. She was still the quiet human who fixed things until she reached Shuttle V-9 and began powering up its systems with swift practice motions. Vorrn caught up moments later, light scattering wildly across his crystalline frame. You cannot do this alone, he insisted, his voice carrying an edge that Thaurians rarely showed. At least take a co-pilot, someone to help stabilize the shuttle during the phase window. Rin slid into the pilot seat and started activating the inertial dampeners. A co-pilot will destabilize the shell. The harmonics only accept Earthborn biometric signatures. Anyone else is a contaminant. Then you will need assistance navigating. Vorrn stepped closer. Your last recorded flight hours are classified, she said sharply, then softer and extensive. The crystalline scientist hesitated. Rin had never spoken with that tone. Not here, not aboard the Vitharian. It wasn't the voice of a technician. It was the voice of someone who'd been bred for crisis. The bay doors slid open behind them, and the captain approached with 3 senior officers. His expression was grim. Rin Callahan, he said, you are not authorized to launch. Rin didn't look up. You can lock down the shuttle bay if you want. It won't change what's coming. The captain's mandibles clicked in frustration. If you leave, you may doom yourself. If you stay, you doom us all. That's why I'm leaving. Rin finished calibrating the shuttle's gravitic shielding. This is my responsibility. One of the officers, a Scylan with spiraling bioluminescent markings, stepped forward. Our long-range scans show the anomaly accelerating. Collapse probability has risen to 70%. Rin's hands paused mid-adjustment. 70. It was climbing faster than she expected. Vorrn moved to the console, examining the shuttle's parameters. Your shielding is insufficient. You will need to cycle it manually to match harmonic distortions. I know. Rin strapped in. Earthborn pilots trained in variable shift navigation. I'll manage. The captain's voice softened, only slightly. Why didn't you tell us what you were? Rin met his gaze for the first time since the command deck. Because I wanted to be someone else. A heavy silence settled. Then Vorrn did something unexpected. He reached out, placing one crystalline hand on the shuttle's hull. A Thaurian gesture of blessing, rare and deeply personal. Return alive, Rin Callahan, he said. Not as the weapon you were designed to be, but as the person you chose to become. Rin swallowed hard. Earthborn conditioning taught suppression of emotion. But at that moment, she let herself feel something: fear, gratitude, resolve. A klaxon blared overhead. Phase window stabilizing. Launch corridor opening. There was no more time. Rin powered the thrusters and ignited the shuttle's engines. The hull trembled like a living thing sensing danger ahead. She glanced once at Vorrn, at the captain, at the crew gathering at the bay's edge. Then she launched. The shuttle shot forward, streaking into the star-specked void, and toward the impossible machine waiting to erase an entire system. Rin adjusted her course, hands steady. Whatever the Earthborn had made out there, she would face it. Alone, the shuttle entered the periphery of the anomaly, a twisting mass of energy and jagged debris fields that defied normal spatial physics. Sensors screamed warnings, alarms bouncing off every panel. Rin ignored them, relying on instincts honed over decades of covert missions and Earthborn training. The chaos outside looked like a painting from a mad artist. Fragments of destroyed ships, ionized clouds, and a faint golden shimmer that hinted at the core's position. Valar Yu's voice cut through the comm channel, calm but tense. Rin, the harmonic distortions are more severe than initial scans suggested. Any misalignment could result in phase collapse and total loss. I'm aware, she replied. Her hands danced over the control panel, adjusting gravitic dampeners, inertial compensators, and shield harmonics in rapid succession. Phase window narrow. I need 3 seconds of stability to pass through. 3 seconds, Valar Yu echoed, almost incredulous. Most experienced Earthborn would hesitate at such odds. Rin's lips pressed into a thin line. Hesitation was a luxury she could no longer afford. She had spent years in shadows, avoiding detection, and training her body to act with precision under pressure. This was no different. The shuttle lurched violently as a fragment of debris grazed the left stabilizer, sending a shockwave through the hull. She gritted her teeth and countered, aligning the gravitic fields with millimeter precision. Outside, the anomaly pulsed as if sensing her presence. Time seemed to stretch, each second drawn into an eternity of calculation. Suddenly, a massive shard, larger than the shuttle itself, tore free from the anomaly's core. Rin's heart pounded in rhythm with her micro-adjustments. She calculated trajectory, shield harmonics, and vector displacement simultaneously, a dance of death and survival only Earthborn could execute instinctively. Then, the impossible. A section of the anomaly's energy lattice seemed to reach out, almost sentient, probing her defenses. Rin's instincts screamed to retreat, but she had no retreat. She had a target to reach. Her eyes flicked to the glowing core, a swirling nexus of energy that could erase everything if left unchecked. Rin whispered to herself, a phrase drilled into her during countless clandestine operations. Find the weak point. Everything has one. Sensors detected a micro flaw in the lattice's harmonic cycle. She guided the shuttle with surgical precision, threading through the lattice, timing her phase shifts with pulses of the anomaly itself. A shard brushed the hull. Sparks flew. The shuttle trembled. But Rin remained steady, the calm of a soldier who had faced annihilation and walked through it repeatedly, settling over her. Seconds later, she broke through the outer lattice and into the anomaly's core chamber. The space inside was disorienting, gravity inconsistent, light refracted in impossible angles, and a strange humming resonated through the shuttle's frame. Valar Yu's voice was almost a whisper now. Incredible, you actually made it inside. Rin took a deep breath, a rare act in a shuttle filled with chaos. She could feel the anomaly pulsating, alive in its own strange way. And she knew survival here wasn't about brute force. It was about understanding. Her eyes scanned the core, searching for the heart of the instability, for the flaw she could exploit. One miscalculation and she, and the entire sector, would be gone. And yet, she felt a familiar thrill. The clarity that only comes when one is dancing on the edge of death, fully alive and unafraid. Rin's hands hovered over the final console. The moment to act had arrived. The shuttle hovered at the very center of the anomaly, suspended in a chaotic ballet of energy and gravity distortions. Rin's eyes narrowed, scanning every sensor readout as the anomaly pulsed unpredictably. Her mind, honed for years of Earthborn training, worked in perfect synchrony with the ship's systems, predicting oscillations, calculating microfluctuations, and constantly adjusting for survival. Then the anomaly shifted. A vertical shaft of energy opened within the swirling chaos. revealing a crystalline formation at its center. The light refracted like 1,000 fractured stars, illuminating the shuttle's interior with eerie golden reflections. Rin recognized the pattern immediately. It was a stabilized harmonic lattice, but one that was actively feeding on ambient energy. This was not just a natural anomaly. It had been engineered. Valar Yu's voice came through, taut with tension. Rin, that lattice, its structure, it's artificial. Whoever built this, it was intended as a weapon or containment field. Rin's heart quickened, but her composure remained unshaken. She leaned closer to the console, tracing the energy flows with her fingers. "I can see the flaw," she said softly. "The lattice cycles in a predictable pattern every 7.3 seconds. If we synchronize the phase shift with that cycle, I can destabilize it without triggering a chain reaction." Valar Yu's astonished silence spoke volumes. "You're suggesting we can collapse it safely?" "Collapse it," Rin corrected, eyes never leaving the data, but in a controlled way. "We're not destroying the anomaly. We're rewiring it to release energy in manageable intervals. It's delicate, but it's possible." The shuttle trembled as the anomaly pulsed again, sending out ripples that threatened to tear the hull apart. Rin adjusted the inertial dampeners, guiding the vessel with surgical precision through the surge. Every movement counted. Every millisecond of miscalculation could shatter the hull. She initiated the synchronization sequence. The lattice responded instantly, shifting in response to her inputs. Golden filaments of energy began to stretch and bend, the anomaly's chaos folding into a structured, predictable rhythm. Rin monitored the fluctuations, her calm, analytical mind turning danger into opportunity. Suddenly, the anomaly reacted. The crystalline lattice pulsed violently, sending a cascade of energy toward the shuttle. Alarms blared, warning of imminent overload. Rin's eyes narrowed. This was expected. She activated emergency stabilizers, rerouted power through secondary conduits, and braced for the surge. The energy wave struck. For a moment, the shuttle shuddered violently, systems screaming under the strain. Rin's fingers moved like lightning across the control panels, correcting minor fluctuations, feeding precise counterwaves into the lattice. Slowly, the chaos began to yield. The crystalline core began to shimmer, breaking into stable, oscillating segments. The anomaly's wild pulses softened, folding into a steady rhythm that could be safely contained. Rin exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Valar Yu's voice was awed. You've done it. The anomaly is stable. The energy is contained. No casualties, no chain reaction." Rin allowed herself a small, rare smile. Controlled collapse always starts with understanding the failure. She glanced at the core, now serene and steady. In its glow, she saw reflected not just the danger, but the human capacity for calculation, adaptability, and calm under pressure. A quiet technician? Perhaps. But behind that guise lay a soldier, trained for the impossible, who had just mastered a weaponized anomaly that could have destroyed an entire sector. The shuttle systems hummed steadily, shields holding firm, anomaly stabilized. For Rin, this was not victory. It was mastery. Survival was never about luck. It was about seeing the patterns, predicting the collapse, and controlling it with absolute precision. Valar Yu broke the silence. "Rin, how do you do this? How can a human manage the impossible so calmly?" Rin's eyes, steady and unflinching, met Valar Yu's. "Because we've lived with the impossible all our lives." The anomaly pulsed one final time, golden and steady, a testament to a controlled chaos tamed by a single human's brilliance. The shuttle cruised away from the stabilized anomaly, but the relief was short-lived. Sensor arrays immediately picked up a new disturbance, a signal, faint but structured, weaving through the void like a predator stalking its prey. Rin's instincts flared. This was no natural phenomenon. It was a vessel, advanced, cloaked, and approaching fast. "Unknown vessel on intercept course," Valar Yu announced, feathers bristling. Stealth signatures are unlike anything in Coalition records. Rin leaned forward, analyzing the readings. Her hands moved with the fluid precision of years in tactical simulations, adjusting shields and plotting evasive maneuvers. This is no random pirate craft. Someone's tracking us, and they know exactly where we've been. The shuttle shuddered as the first strike hit. Small, rapid energy pulses meant to test defenses. Rin's fingers danced over the control panels, deploying countermeasures and redirecting power. The hull groaned, but the shields held. "They're probing," Rin said quietly. "Try to find a weak point." Valar's tone was tense. "They've got firepower beyond any known raiding faction. One hit in." Rin cut him off. "Then we don't give them one." She accessed the ship's hidden combat systems she had personally installed during her tenure as a covert operative. The shuttle's sleek frame transformed into a deadly weapon. Auxiliary thrusters primed, plasma turrets aligned, energy conduits glowing a faint crimson. The approaching vessel blinked into visible range, a jagged silhouette bristling with weaponry, energy cores pulsing like predatory eyes. Rin's pulse didn't quicken. She observed, calculated, and acted. One misstep could cost lives, but in her mind, hesitation was far worse than risk. "Lock onto their main propulsion array," Rin commanded. "When not engaging directly, we're disabling. Precision strikes only." Valar's eyes widened. "You want to cripple them before they fire?" Rin's gaze was cold, controlled. "Exactly. If we can take out their engines, we control the battlefield. Nothing else matters." The shuttle's systems responded instantly. Tiny plasma bolts shot from concealed turrets, each moving with perfect accuracy. The first salvo hit the enemy's aft thrusters, sending the vessel spinning. They recovered quickly, firing back with lethal bursts, but Rin anticipated each trajectory, each arc, adjusting shields and redirecting energy in a ballet of survival and counterattack. Then, a chilling realization struck Valar. "Rin, they know you." Rin didn't look away from the displays. "I expected as much. They've been tracking Earthborn operatives for years. And now they've found me." The enemy vessel launched a concentrated strike, aimed to pierce the shuttle's forward shields. Rin activated an emergency displacement matrix, fragmenting the ship's energy signature. The blast tore through empty space where the shuttle had been just a second earlier. "Volumutrid, stunned." "You moved before the weapon fired?" Rin allowed herself a small, grim smile. "I learned long ago that anticipation saves more lives than reaction." As the vessel spun, crippled but still threatening, Rin initiated a calculated counterattack. Her strategy wasn't to destroy. They couldn't afford that kind of collateral, but to send a clear message. The hunter had become the hunted. Precision strikes tore through the enemy's navigation arrays, leaving them drifting, disoriented, and vulnerable. Valar exhaled, relief mingling with awe. That was surgical, like watching a human predator at work. Rin's eyes narrowed. Humans survive where others fail. We've trained for this, and some of us never stop training, even when the galaxy thinks we have. The enemy ship floated in disabled silence, a stark contrast to the shuttle's calm, lethal readiness. Rin's mind already calculated next steps: containment, interrogation, and above all, securing any intelligence they could extract. The revelation was clear. Someone knew about Earthborn operatives, and Rin had just become the center of their hunt. Her past, long buried, had found her, and it wouldn't wait quietly. The disabled vessel drifted in the void like a wounded predator, its thrusters sparking intermittently. Rin's shuttle slowed to a cautious hover, sensors sweeping for hidden surprises. Valar's wings were folded tensely, every feather vibrating with residual adrenaline. "They're alive," Valar whispered. For now, Rin's gaze remained fixed on the enemy's ship, her mind already analyzing the options. There was one obvious path: finish the job, eliminate the threat, and move on. But something in the enemy's signature, the way the vessel had maneuvered and targeted them, told Rin there was more at play. Someone had orchestrated this. Someone who understood Earthborn operatives intimately. She opened a secure channel. "This is Earthborn Operative Rin Morgan. You are disabled. Do not attempt evasive maneuvers. Speak or we act. Your choice." A static-laced transmission hissed through. A cold, mechanical voice responded, layered with a translator. "Rin Morgan. The hunt is not personal. You are a variable in the larger equation. Earthborn assets must be contained, neutralized if necessary. But your experience is noted." Rin's jaw tightened. Someone knew not just who she was, but the tactics, the protocols, even the psychological profiles of Earthborn operatives. They were playing a game she hadn't anticipated. A trap, yes, but not one that required immediate destruction. She turned to Vorrn. "We have two choices. 1. Destroy them and erase the immediate threat. 2. Capture and interrogate. We could gain invaluable intelligence about who's tracking Earthborn personnel across the galaxy." Vorrn's eyes widened. "Do we dare? This could be a trap." Rin's hands hovered over the controls, a lifetime of instinct guiding her decision. The galaxy already knows humans survive where others fail. If we act recklessly, we confirm their worst fears. If we act smart, we control the narrative. We survive, and we gather the information needed to protect others like me. The shuttle released a series of precision tethers, locking the enemy vessel in place. Rin initiated containment fields and activated silent decoy protocols. Energy pulses from the enemy vessel ricocheted harmlessly off the shields, leaving them frustrated and restrained. "Now we learn," Rin said quietly, voice steady. "We understand why they're here, what they want, and how they plan to track us. Then we decide. Silence, leverage, or war." Vorrn exhaled, marveling at the calm precision. "I thought you were just a technician." "I was wrong." Rin allowed a small, dry smile. "Technician today, soldier tomorrow, if necessary. But always thinking 5 steps ahead. That's what Earthborn training teaches you. Not to fight for glory, but to survive, adapt, and protect what matters." The enemy vessel's crew, realizing they were trapped, began signaling compliance. Rin initiated a remote scan, recording every system, every log, every trace of intent. The quiet hum of the shuttle's engines filled the space between them, the only sound for miles. For the first time in years, Rin allowed herself a brief reflection. She had wanted a simple life, a place in the maintenance bays far from conflict. But the galaxy had other plans. And now, as she stared at the restrained ship, she knew the truth. Peace for Earthborn operatives was always temporary. The past followed them, shadows of competence and catastrophe woven into every mission. But so did their strength. Rin leaned back in her seat, hands folded, observing the alien crew struggling against the containment. Calm, precise, ready. She didn't need to display her prowess, only to wait for the moment the galaxy demanded it. Some would call it fate. She called it preparation. The Earthborn never ran from what they could handle. They adapted, they endured, and when necessary, they rebuilt from the chaos others couldn't survive. The shuttle hummed quietly, the stars stretching beyond the viewport. Rin Morgan, Earthborn, technician, soldier, survivor, remained the silent storm at the galaxy's edge. And the hunt had only just begun.